complaints at all.
Or would it be we take Ronaldinho, put him where David Villa is, and bring in a Cesc or a Gilberto Silva or a, one of those guys? Or do we stick with David Villa?
No, I can't, because Villa's a shooter.
Yeah, David Villa's a madman.
He was a shooter. He's the best finisher I've ever seen. That's my statement.
Mad.
And he was savage. I can't lie. He was savage.
But then going off the back of that, that means how many? Isn't it equal? Casillas.
I think it's 6 Brazilians, 5 Spanish. I think. Yeah.
Brazilian, yeah.
So it's
Yo, I'm tryna get my styling up in the city, so s'il-vous-plaît. As soon as my child can walk, it's straight Project Mbappé. But know the verbal, as soon as I hear that whistle, we get straight to the action. Come on lads, where's the passion? Do like Alan Maxi, wear headbands for the fashion. If the defenders drop back, we counter and then attack them. I got my eye on the ball, I got my eye on the ball, yeah. I got my eye on the ball, I got my eye on the ball, yeah. I got my eye on the ball, I got my eye on the ball.
cool.
This is tough.
You already know what it is. It's Eyes on the Ball. We're back for another episode of Viewpoint. You know already it's that show where we give our point of view. We've had a lot of great topics in the preceding weeks. We've had the greatest captains in the Premier League. We've had the greatest Premier League strikers. We've had the greatest Premier League champions. And today I decided to give it a little bit of a twist today. And we're actually going to rank the last 5 World Cup winners. So the last 5 World Cup champs. So obviously Brazil 2002, Italy 2006, Germany 2000 and Spain 2010, sorry, Germany 2000 and I missed a year, didn't I?
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, nah. I thought I missed the year, but yeah, everyone knows the teams already. So we're gonna get cracking. Obviously, before we get in, just a bit of housekeeping with my co-host Darren. Obviously, he's gonna be part of the panel. What are you saying, Darren? How you doing, bro?
Blessed, man. A little bit under the weather, but been looking forward to this one. So I'm looking forward to what the fellas got in mind, man. Because this is a tough list to make, man.
100%.
One of the toughest lists that we've done.
Definitely, man. And obviously we got Kojo, long-time friend. What are you saying, my boy?
I'm stressed. Stressed. You asked me to come on a couple of hours ago. I was like, yeah, let's do this, and you gave me the topic as well, and I didn't actually realize how deep this topic was until I started doing my research properly again, and I'm stressed, but I'm in good spirits.
Nah, I hear that, bro. I hear that. Sure, by the time we get to you anyway, I'm sure you'll have your list and have good enough reasons for that. And obviously we've got Chelsea up and coming journalist. We got Nishal, top man. What are you saying, my bro?
Thank you, I'm very well. Also stressed about this list. I've spent the last 24 hours just switching and trying to decide what everyone's doing. But I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think I've done a video or prepared an idea like this where I've had to put so much thought into this. And even now, I'm still not sure. So I'm really looking forward to it, bro. And good to be back on.
Yeah, that's why I'm happy about the show anyway in general, because it's interesting to see people's opinions. And it's not as clear-cut as you might think. Like, obviously not to give too much away, but like when I asked one of my friends this question, the first thing that came to your mind was, Spain. But actually, when you look at the tournament, they weren't that great. They actually weren't that great. So you just have to put it into perspective. We're not asking for like their span, because obviously the Spain team was great for like 3-4 years. But we're asking for that specific tournament and who was the more impressive champion for you, whether it be the players they had, whether it be how they handled the tournament, whether it be how convincing they were. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be getting into today. I mean, we might as well get straight into it. I'm just going to share the screen so that you guys can see what we're dealing with today. Cool. So, obviously, as you can see here, we've got the Brazil team here. We got the France team here. We got the Germany 2014. We got the Italy 06, and we got the Spain 2010 here. We'll go with Darren first. Darren, You might as well set
No,
things
go
off.
Kojo first. Go
No,
Kojo
no, 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 no.
first.
Sit down. This is your show. Yeah, go up there. Go up there.
That's the reason why I went with Darren. But no, if you're not ready, I think.
No, it's calm. What I will say is that I didn't do as much of a deep dive as these guys, I'm guessing, because I was occupied, a bit under the weather. I've gone with more so, what I can recall about these teams. I did do a deep dive into the older teams, so like the Brazil team and then the Italy team, but obviously the other guys mostly based on memory. But I'm gonna start number one because that's easier to start for me.
Yeah,
I got Brazil at number one, man.
Brazil at number one, yeah.
Yeah, I got Brazil at number one. For me, when I think of the World Cup and I remember teams that stand out, this is a team that is immovable. We could be 2100, 2080. This team will still go down in history. The firepower on this team, I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again. Obviously, one of the greatest. We had Big Boy Ronaldo in his heyday. You had Ronaldinho. You had, I think Kaká was on the bench. I'm not sure if he was injured.
Yeah,
but
no, he was there.
Yeah, he didn't play. Yeah, he was on the bench for the final, I believe. So
yeah,
we go throughout that team as well. You got Cafu, a legend at his position. Lucio, one of the greatest at his position. Rivaldo. When you go through the actual players and you remember their regard at that period, we're talking about the best players in the world at their position.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Throughout that team. Do you know what I mean? Their results wise, I can't remember their results. I believe I can't remember what the score was in the final, but what stands out to me about this team is just the firepower, man. And what I actually wanted to do is, how good are you at what you do best? That was what I was trying to calibrate in terms of making my list. And this team, in terms of like firepower, it don't get better than that.
Yeah, no,
I got them at number one.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Number two.
Yeah, number two was a bit sticky. That's one of the stickiest spots for me. But I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go 2006 Italy team.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes, this was. I was very much undecided before we got cracking on this, but we were spitting out some stats before we got recording. This team conceded 2 goals throughout the tournament. We went through the squad. The players were ridiculous. Like, we know the legendary back line they had in just the big guns that they had in midfield. We mentioned Carbonese, you mentioned El Piero up top. If you go through the lineup, the team is just ridiculous. But what stands out to me is we know they were a defensive juggernaut. And you look back, they conceded 2 goals. Like, it just don't get much better than that. Literally. At third, I'll go with... This is tough. I'll go with the Spain team. 2010 Spain team. Actually, no. Give me the... Oh. Yeah, I have to go with the Spain team. This team just... Dominant team, fam. We know what they did on the ball, special on the ball. All great players. Similar players, but they're all great. Xavi, Iniesta, Cesc. Let's not forget that they still had David Villa up top them times as well. And David Villa was a serious gunman. A couple young guys that were up and coming as well in terms of Pedro, them man there. But this team, stylistically, doesn't get much. This is probably one of the best in terms of style of play teams that we've seen. One of the best Spanish teams that we've ever seen. And we know, the caliber of football that they play. So, I had to put some respect on there, They had a couple red flags. But, I didn't, want to penalize them too much because when I remember to what the way they dominated the tournament, like, they were...
If I was to ask you a question, though, obviously I know, again, like you said, you didn't do as much as a deep dive. But if I was to say to you now, they were the only team that lost the game in their run to the final, does that change your opinion?
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, because at the end of the day, they stylistically, in terms of the way they played, this team was stupid. And player for player, you can match them up with any of the teams that we see. They weren't as dominant as some of the teams on this list in terms of results, but in terms of performance, in terms of like entertainment value, in terms of like actually being a team. Like it doesn't get much better than those guys. Like when we speak of Iniesta, Xavi, Cesc Fabregas, David Villa, like special players all over the park in that team. Fourth, I'm gonna go with the France team, 2018 France team.
Interesting.
Special team. Yeah, we know them man on. Kylian Mbappe did the madness at the tournament. You got Paul Pogba running the show, being the main man that he is. Yeah, man, that team did their thing in the tournament as well. Like, it's hard to compare them to these other teams because I don't think that the level of competition was as fierce. But yeah, man, they did their thing. This team, Griezmann, you got Giroud. Giroud didn't get a goal, but he still held that team. And yeah, I got the German team at the 5th spot, man. It hurts me to say because I do love me some Germans, and that team was stupid, but you know that team resonates the least with me when I'm thinking of, you know.
If I maybe jog your memory a bit, I mean that Germany team obviously beat Brazil 7-1. That's one of the most like iconic World Cup fixtures that we've ever seen. The capitulation of Brazil. I think they also beat France en route to the final as well, 1-0. That Germany team was not only efficient, but they were able to score goals at will as well, and they were obviously defensively resolute. So, don't you think that in your point as well about France and level of competition that maybe you're being a bit too harsh on the Germany team, maybe by putting France above them? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Maybe, but because I think France is more, the memories that I have from what that France team did is more prevalent. Yeah. And I think in terms of top end talent, I think that France team has the edge. Yeah, those would be the reasons why I put France above. No shame on we're talking about teams that won the World Cup at the end of the day. Yeah, you know what I mean? So we're splitting hairs, but when I mention the likes of Kylian Mbappe, you know, Paul Pogba, these are guys that dominate. And yeah, man, it's at the end of the day, that's my list.
Disclaimer for anyone who doesn't know, Darren is a big Man United fan, hence the stressing of Paul Pogba. But anyway, now, do you know what? There's not a lot to argue. Oh, of course, there's things to argue with the list, but again, like you said, we're splitting hairs. So it'll be interesting to see what everyone else has then.
I'm looking forward to it.
Kojo, we're going straight to you, man. What are you changing? I would want you to start from 5th now and go up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Your 5th is... I can't even about to say this. I'm putting Spain 5th.
1 sec as well. Darren, could you do me a favor and just remember the guys that, I mean, your
list, I got my list. Yeah.
Cool. You're putting Spain 5th.
Yeah,
wow.
Firstly, I've got a whole list here of stuff for reasons here, yeah. So all right, with Spain, I was remembering the dominance of Euros, World Cup Euros, like they killed the competition. But if I think of an isolated competition, just the World Cup on its own, their win wasn't as dominating as it looked. Their football was fantastic, but the scoreline didn't reflect that. Now, that's not a bad thing on them. If they're winning games 1-0 in a knockout competition, who cares? But I think in relation to the other sides, I put them 5th just because I feel like the other sides were a lot more commanding in their wins. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they were a lot more dominant. And also, France only had 3 men that scored in that whole World Cup: Iniesta, Puyol, and David Villa. No one else.
Spain, you mean?
Spain, yeah. No one else contributed. So I'm putting them 5th for now.
Do you think that stylistically they're the best?
They were the most prettiest. Yeah, I think when you're looking for, I think after we had watched how Barcelona had played under Pep, obviously they won in the Euros in 2008, so they're already good. But when they played, we saw how Barcelona played, and then that sort of transitioned onto Spain in 2010 and 2012. We're all in love with it. But in relation to the other teams, I just don't think they was as commanding as the others. So I'm going to put them 5th for now. Probably going to get killed for that, but the game is the game. 4th, Italy.
Italy.
4th. Which is mad because I just realised that's put them 2nd. So
exactly.
They are 4th because as good as it took me a long time to actually deep how good that team was. I mean, before we record, I named The great forwards, Del Piero, Totti, Luca Toni, Gilardino, midfield, Gattuso, Pirlo. I go to defense. Nestor was still doing his thing.
Camoranesi.
I forgot to say Camoranesi. What?
Everyone's forgetting as well. Grosso, fam. Alonso before Alonso was Alonso.
I'm telling you.
And he had the big say in the final 2 games of that as well. You know, so
Yeah.
Grosso goes down as an Italian legend just for that alone. But man, if I'm looking at Brazil, Germany, and France, I would consider them better teams. And I know people will say, would you not consider Spain a better team than Italy? But I feel like the way, again, Italy were more commanding in their win would give me a lot more faith in them. Plus, the way they dealt with France in that final, it's like, as soon as Zidane went off, I know he went to penalties, but the way they smelt blood, it's like they knew the game was theirs. Italians had that thing about
do you think if Zidane didn't get sent off, Italy would have that World Cup?
Yeah,
That's harsh though, man. We can say that about a lot of trophies.
No, but
Of course.
I genuinely had that feeling that they were going to win that game. I don't know what it was. I feel like the fairy tale ending when they were in Zidane winning the World Cup and walking away in his final game. But I feel like the Italians were never going to allow that. And I just had a feeling that day that they was going to win the game, even though I wanted Zidane to win a World Cup again, just because he was my favorite player of all time. So yeah, but I'm gonna give the Italians 4th.
I hear that. Fair enough. Who you got 3rd then?
3rd. You know what? You're going 3rd. France. 2018. Yes. Incredible team. They're beating off Argentina. That's when I felt that they were about to really command this competition, and they did. Excellent talent throughout the team. I think the coming from Mbappe was so key, and that midfield pivot of Pogba and Kante was beautiful to watch at times. Yeah, but Varane and Umtiti at the back were sensational, and Lloris used his final powers that he had left before he became the guy that we see today. So, yeah, I'm without going on too much about them, I'm gonna give it to France for 3rd place.
Who you got 2nd then?
2nd, you might want to swap positions between 1st and 2nd, bro.
Mad.
No bloody way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me why. Tell me why Germany are above Brazil. That's what I'm interested to know.
Yeah, okay. So, firstly, interesting enough, both teams scored the same amount of goals in their World Cups. That's number 1. And Brazil, even though Brazil were the only team to win all their games from the start to the finish of the World Cup, the reason why I've gone Germany is because Germany, for me, had a harder caliber of opposition to face throughout their run. So if I go through Brazil, Turkey were a good side back then, but in relation to Brazil, they were not close. Yeah. They beat China, they beat Costa Rica, dealt with them. Belgium were a decent side. They weren't the golden generation that we see today. And then they beat England, which, to be honest, was funny for me because I watched that in school. I'll never forget that day when Aldinho lobbing some other team's legend. Turkey were also a good side as well. They actually, and they played them again, so I obviously mentioned them twice, but I think after beating them the first time, they were going to beat them the second one. Germany, the final. Now you're playing Oliver Kahn, Bierhoff, and all these guys, but as good as that German team was, Brazil were just, you know, when a team is just so far better than everybody else.
Yeah, well, you were explaining why they should be number 1 on the list.
No, but then I'll explain why Germany are number 1 now. Explain why Germany are number 1, because when I talk about Germany's caliber, I'm flipping pages like it's a book. All right. The reason why I say Germany's number 1 is because the caliber of opposition they had to face. Now, Portugal, top team, smashed them 4-0. And then they drew with my people, them Ghana. That's the only team that got a point from them. So, you know, anyone hating, that's on you. They beat USA and then they beat Algeria. But then France, Brazil, Argentina. And the way they beat Brazil, we've never seen anything like that in a World Cup. I mean, us guys, it's been history, there's been big W's, but there's years ago where we weren't able to see that. And in the era where we've seen all these fantastic sets come to World Cups and win, for them to go to Brazil in their nation and humble them the way they did. They scored 4 goals in 7 minutes or so. Like, the massacre on that day alone had me thinking, this is ridiculous. You had Thomas Muller again scoring 5 goals in a consecutive World Cup, and Miroslav Klose was, I think, has he equaled Klose now or equaled Ronaldo? One of the two.
No, I think he's outright. He's outright top now.
Oh, so he's even the leader now. Yeah. So even that in itself, it had me thinking, okay, what do they have over Brazil? And for me, it's not only the caliber of team they beat, even though Brazil's team was phenomenal, not taking anything away from them. It's the caliber of team they beat, and it's the way they beat these teams. The 1-0 against France were great, but a great side, but it didn't feel like Germany were ever worried. When they played against Argentina, as soon as Messi missed his chance and Higuain did Higuain, Germany did what they needed to do. And it was a late winner from Mario Götze in a tough game. That's why you won from the World Cup final. But the caliber of teams they beat, the way they beat them, the assertiveness, I couldn't look past them. So I wanted to rep my Brazilians, but I'm putting my Germans number 1.
I've got a question for you, though. If Germany 2014 played Brazil 2002, do you genuinely believe Germany would win?
Great question.
That is a great question, and the answer
if both two teams played, do you really see Germany beating that team?
Do you know what it is? It's because the Germans had this ridiculous efficiency about them. It wasn't that they were... Like, if you go man for man, I think Brazil would have the more talented team. Absolutely. But the efficiency that Germany had to score goals, the way they score goals, for me was incredible. It was the way they scored goals. It was the way they just bulldozed opponents. It was the way they disposed of Brazil was just ridiculous. I can't get my head over that. That might be actually the reason why I'm just putting that, just for that one game alone, isn't it?
And then to beat Messi Argentina in the final as well, where many tipped them to win as well. That goes in that. I'll put that in your pocket in terms of the caliber of the opposition.
But listen.
Go on.
I'm not taking this away from Germany because it's definitely a massive result. But that Brazil team basically hung up their boots. They basically said, "We've resigned." Germany was basically banging nobody, and they were just putting the ball in the back of the net. Not saying that it's to underrate the achievement, but I'm just saying, if we're talking level of competition, that Brazil team basically said, "Go ahead, pals."
No, it's crazy because if I quickly even read out some of the names on this Brazil team, you got the Cafus, Lucio, Edmilson, Roberto Carlos, Gilberto Silva, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho. They had Dida as well. They had Kleberson.
Marcos.
They had Kaká on the bench. Rodrigo Ceni. They had ballers like across the pitch.
Killers,
That's what I'm saying.
I'd even say Rodrigo Ceni, Sao Paulo's goalkeeping legends, probably better than some outfield footballers. He reminds me a lot of Ederson, actually. Do you know, guys who want to take free kicks and penalties? Ederson, he's always on that. So it's like, that Brazil team,
it's tough. It's tough. And I listen. If you look at my paper, I've crossed out first and second 15 times. It's actually mad. It's actually mad, but. You know what? I'm sticking by it because I think it will be also good to have some variety. But that's actually what I want to do anyway, regardless of variety. Germany, I'm keeping as number 1.
No, I like it, man. I like it. Back yourself, man. Nishal, we'll go to you then. See what you have on your list.
So when I was deciding my list, I'll say quickly, when I was deciding my list, I went on 3 main things. 1, the basic. How good was the team? How unbelievably strong, excellent, incredible was that team of a World Cup? Number 2, how hard was their run? What teams did they play? Did we have an easy side of a draw? Did we have to play, the hardest teams in the world, etc.? Number 3, was that their golden generation? And where did that rank in terms of a nation? So, for example, Brazil, 5 times winners. In my opinion, their golden generation was 1970. Where they won the World Cup in 58, 62, 70. That's their golden generation. Where someone like France is taking 98 and so on. So, number 5, and I feel criminal for saying this, but Italy 2006. Put at the bottom.
Okay.
It's peak because, like we said, insane team, incredible players, such a well-built team, all round, great defence. But I think part of the reason I put them so low down was for their run. Yes, they conceded 2 goals, credit for that, but they didn't have the toughest group. USA, Ghana, Ghana, brilliant team. I'll say that for you. USA, Ghana.
Maybe repping.
Who was the third? USA, Ghana, and Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Not the toughest group, let's be honest. Australia in the round of 16, they needed a late, slightly controversial penalty to go through. Quarterfinals, even Ukraine, not the finest team again. It's when it got to the semi-finals, it got tougher with Germany, and yeah, all due credit for that, because if you're beating the hosts in their own country, like, massive credit. And then the final argument was really interesting, where you were saying they were very convincing in the final, blah, blah, blah. But it's weird for me. They weren't for me, because they were the only ones in this list who won on penalties. They had to go the whole game. They had to win on a penalty shootout. They also needed, like, I know we have that debate, would they have won without Zidane? But Zidane being sent off did help them. You can't deny that at all.
It did.
So, yeah.
Sure.
So not to say that they didn't deserve it, you know, they were brilliant and all of that, but I think there were more factors against them winning that pulled them further down. So that's why they're there.
I understand that. No, I understand that.
For number 4, I've gone France 2018. I'll be honest, this isn't a team I rate as highly within this list. Overall, and in the World Cup, they were brilliant. You know, they did deserve the tournament. They were very, very good. But my main critique for France is that while we look at these other teams and they have dozens of world-class players, stars, literally generational players, I don't think France have that many. Maybe it's because they're the most recent team and because they're still playing, we're not really recognising their legacy as much. But even if we compare the 2018 team to the 1998 team, it's not as strong in my opinion. Zinedine Zidane, Emmanuel Petit, Fabien Barthez, Laurent Blanc, like David Trezeguet, Thierry Henry.
We don't talk about Fabien Barthez over here.
We compare those two teams, and 98 is just so much stronger for me. And again, we have a debate about. Go on.
No, just a quick question. Do you think though that you might have to look or consider the times that they're playing in? So if you look at guys like Kante, Pogba, Lloris, Varane, Griezmann during that time anyway, not so much now, but at the time, these are world-class players of the time. Do you know what I'm saying? Matuidi less so, but he's still a quality player. But do you think these guys, don't you think those guys could stand the test of time, or you don't think so?
I think they can stand the test of time, and as I've said, it's harder to kind of say this when this was literally 3 years ago. But when you compare them like for like, I think the only few comparisons you could really argue, Lloris and Barthez, if you want to go really extreme, Mbappe and Zidane, though Zidane right now, obviously clear, but we have to see. But I just think also their run, right? The 2018 World Cup was really infamous for having weaker sides of the draws and, you know, lots of big teams going out and failing. And, you know, France, the group stage, I will say that was quite tough. Australia, Denmark, and Peru. The last team escaped, Peru. So, decent group. Credit for Argentina. Insane performance to beat Argentina in that game. Again, in the final, I think that's probably one of the best final performances I've seen. But in terms of the champions, I don't rank them as highly in terms of who they were and what they did. So it's harsh. Number 3
fair enough.
Is actually your number 1. I put Germany at number 3.
Mad. Okay.
So with Germany, another very good team, another excellent team. I think the two countries that rank above them deserve to be there. But with Germany, I mean, I think one of the main reasons they're like we've already discussed, was 7-1. If you put in that performance, not just in the World Cup, against the hosts in the semi-final to win 7-1, like, that's just insane. That is insane.
I think the craziest memory for that from that final, from that semi-final, is just me being gobsmacked, man. As in, my mouth was literally open, as in, like, what is going on? Like, you know, when United were slapping at Arsenal 7-2, that kind of, like, what is going on? I'd even say when United just recently beat Southampton 9-0 gave me that same kind of shock factor. Like, we don't see this amount of goals. So then to do it at the World Cup in the semi-finals, in the hometown of that country, like, yeah, you got to give serious props to that. But the question to you then is, in a one-off game though, because you were talking obviously about the talent, would that Germany team beat the France team in your opinion?
Yes, absolutely. I have no doubt that Germany would beat France.
Mad.
like we said,
No
I think
doubt. Woo!
no doubt at all.
Oh, that
I'm
German
telling
team.
you that. Kojo, you gave that German team the fullest praise that I could give. Efficient. It was just like ruthless German football, set like slapping Brazil for 7 goals, and they just went on and on and on. France as well, 1-0. Argentina 1-0 again, but them beating Argentina in the final and beating Lionel Messi's Argentina drew parallels to the West Germany team beating Diego Maradona's Argentina 24 years earlier, and the exact same thing happened. Like the greatest player in world football who carries that team, and they just swept them aside, and wasn't the greatest final performance, but they deserved it. And I think it is harsh to put them third, but with no doubt I put them above Italy and France. Like that's certain for me.
Fair enough. Who you got?
Number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 2. I mean, I won't lie, my number 1 was set in stone from the start.
Okay.
And I did doubt it a few times, but I was like, they have to be number 1 for me. Number 2 is Brazil for me. And I'll tell you why Brazil. I think,
yes.
To be really honest, to be really honest, there's so little to fault Brazil in, right? Wow. There's so, like we just said, they won every single game. They won like Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo. Like, how can that be your attack? That's just unfair. That is completely unfair in football. But
that's literally 3 Ballon d'Or winners in your attack.
Yeah. That is
my
the
goodness,
3 greatest attackers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they finished first, second, third one year as well. I'm sure I remember that.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Oh, you're making me rethink my list, man. What are you doing, man?
But that Brazil team, but my comparison is actually a bit harsh. I think their attack was incredible, right? Ronaldo, golden boot. He was the top goal scorer in World Cup history for about 12 years. Like, that's insane how long he was there. But I think if I'm comparing them like to Spain, and if I saw them face off against each other, I just think Spain would have the edge. And I think Spain were a more all-round team. Brazil had a good defence, like you said, Marcos, very underrated goalkeeper, Cafu, Roberto Carlos, insane wing-backs. But I don't think their defence was as good as Spain. And that's going to lead me on to why I'm saying Spain. Number 1, that was the Spanish golden generation. Like we said, every other team here, I can point to their golden generation being in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Not one of these World Cup winners was a golden generation except for Spain. So that's 1. Number 2, I know, yes, we're isolating the tournament, we're looking at that, but they won 3 tournaments in a row, and not just won them, they swept away the competition. They were the favourites for every single tournament, and they were unbelievable. But, their style of play, incredible, beautiful team to watch. Vicente del Bosque, incredible manager. But for me, I think Spain have the best all-round team here, because I think in every one of these teams, you can pick out at least one place where you're saying, yes, they're a great player, they're world-class, but they weren't the finest. You can exploit that as a weakness. In Spain, I don't think it's a weakness at all. Iker Casillas in goal, Piqué, Ramos, Puyol in one defence, Xavi, Iniesta, Alonso, David Villa, Pedro, Fernando Torres, all of these players come together. It was literally the greatest Spanish team. They will say that, the greatest Spanish team they've ever seen. One of the greatest teams in world football that didn't have a weakness. Every single position was incredible. And, it's even madder when you think that, as we said, Spain were the only team on this list to lose a game to my Switzerland, the greatest night in our country's history. You know how mad that was. Insane. But they're still there. They're still there. So for me, it's tough, but to put them above everyone else when they lost a game, when they won 1-0 in every knockout game, while Brazil won 7-1, and Germany won 7-1, and Brazil was slapping up everyone on the road. But Spain, undisputably the greatest out of these 5.
I feel like we need to do a mixture of the Spain and Brazil team, making 11, and because when you're saying about the weakness at the back, I'm thinking to myself, wait, hold on.
Do you know what? Let's do that right now then. Let's do that right now. In goal, who would you have? Iker Casillas or Marcos? Because I think who was it? Marcos or Dida?
It was Marcos. It was Marcos.
Yeah, and you have Casillas. Then you look at the right back. You could look at Puyol.
No. Sergio Ramos playing right back, and I'm taking Cafu.
Fullback's got to be Brazilian for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're taking both fullbacks. You're taking Roberto Carlos and
Exactly,
Cafu.
Roberto Carlos as well.
But then you can make the argument that you're taking PK and Puyol over Lucio and Edmilson, I believe it was.
Or Roque Jr.
I think so.
Or Roque Jr. But Roque Jr. was like...
I think Puyol's in, but Lucio versus PK, that's
a tough one.
Yeah, because we're talking what?
Simple.
2014 PK? 2014 PK weren't the PK that we knew.
No. He was. Barcelona. 2010.
Oh, okay.
2010. Prime PK. 2010.
No, man, no. I don't think PK wasn't the PK that we regard him now in 2010, fam.
He was.
No,
You could
remember
say Lucio in 2010.
was evil.
You could say the
in
exact
2010.
same of Lucio.
Yeah, because Lucio still needed, like, he still matured into the defender that we know. He wasn't Lucio in 2002. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I hear it.
And PK, just remember, PK had just won every single trophy with Pep, like the year before.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So this was prime PK. Like,
Let's get to midfield then.
let's go to the midfield.
So what? So we got
That's
two
tough.
Brazilians and two Spanish.
I think we need a formation first, don't we? We need a formation.
4-3-3.
4-3-3. It's just standard.
Yeah, free midfield, cheap plug. You know what I'm saying?
I want to go for the Spanish midfield, but I feel bad for leaving out the Brazilians. That's the problem.
I actually know my midfield already.
Yeah, that's
Go on.
Xavi, Iniesta, Rivaldo.
So Xavi, Iniesta, Gilberto Silva.
No, Xavi, Iniesta, Ronaldinho.
Well,
Ronaldinho's on the front line.
Front line. These are my
Yeah,
front.
Oh, you're putting him in the front line. Cool.
Yeah,
I say Rivaldo
Okay.
is the third midfielder.
No, Rivaldo's up front. Rivaldo was
That's
up front.
Gilberto Silva.
Yeah, but then Ronaldo's got to be up front.
Yeah, Ronaldo's up front.
No. Do you know?
Ronaldo's up front.
No. Of course, Ronaldo's up front, but I'm saying just to accommodate the front three, you'd put Rivaldo there, like play him on the left. Do you know what I'm saying?
I put him at the top in front of Xavi and Iniesta.
I would drop Ronaldinho back.
Oh, so
Or do you know what I'll do? I'll take inspiration from my favourite Frank Lampard. I would do Xavi and Iniesta as like sixes, and then Ronaldinho as an 8. I think that's the best we can do.
Okay.
That's fair. Who's the front three in that case?
Just one sec before we do the front three. So that means we're not including Gilberto Silva, Fabregas, Xabi Alonso, Busquets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, what a list. Oh, wow.
No, but if we're doing the Ronaldinho at number 10, then man ain't gonna make it. It depends who's in the front line. Maybe someone in the front line.
Who do you think is in the front line then? Who do you think is in the front?
Our 9 takes the middle. I don't want to hear. We're not doing
Guaranteed.
we're not doing like a Liverpool accommodate Firmino for. We ain't doing it.
No. R9 is in the middle. R9's in the middle.
R9's in the middle.
He played on the left for Barca. I can put him there.
Who?
David Villa. On the left.
So then who's going on the
So
right?
which Brazilian? Who are we kicking out? From the Brazilians.
Rivaldo on the right.
Oh, so we're keeping all of them.
Yeah.
Ooh.
VR.
I think Rivaldo's got to be there.
I think, yeah. To be honest, I wouldn't complain too much if David Villa wasn't there when we look at Brazil's attack. But if we're fitting Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, and Villa into one attack, no complaints at all.
Or would it be we take Ronaldinho, put him where David Villa is, and bring in a Cesc or a Gilberto Silva or a, do you know what I mean, one of those guys? Or do we stick with David Villa?
No, I can't because Villa's a shooter.
Yeah, David Villa's a madman.
He was a shooter still. The best finisher I've ever seen. That's my statement, personally.
Mad.
No, he was savage. I can't lie. He was savage.
But then going off the back of that means how many? Isn't it equal? Casillas.
I think it's 6 Brazilians, 5 Spaniards, I think. Yeah.
Brazilian, yeah.
So it's even still close. That shows how tight the margins are in terms of how good these teams were, really and truly. Cool. So now, obviously, now that we have everyone's list, we've seen Nishal's list: Spain, Brazil, Germany, Italy. Oh no, France, and then Italy. This is tough because you all have very, very different lists, and you have to kind of come to a consensus.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking at how things panned out, the team that finished the lowest consistently out of the three of you, who finished the lowest? That's an interesting one, actually.
I think it's
Probably
You can get everyone's list up. If you write down everyone's list, you can see like average position, no?
Yeah, no, we can. Darren, say your list again for me.
I had Brazil at the top. I
Yeah.
had Italy at 2, Spain at 3, France at 4, Germany at 5.
Germany at 5. And then, Kojo, you had...
I had Germany first.
Literally, just to show you the margins.
Germany first, Brazil second, France third. I think it was Italy fourth, and Spain fifth.
Let's forget about average position then.
Yeah.
Let's forget about average position. You guys, I want you guys to come up with a consensus now. Who can you agree on that's fifth?
I think France at 5th is fair.
Do you know what? I'm just going to say now, I think there's going to be only one agreement, which is that Brazil will be somewhere in the top 3. Because that's the only consistency in all 3.
Brazil has to be top 2. Brazil has top 2.
I'm good with. I'm cool with France being last. I can
cool with France being. Do you think it's a lot to do with the recency aspect of things, and in comparison to the other teams? You think maybe in a one-off game they'd lose to all these teams?
Exactly, and they haven't really built up their legend individually the way that these guys are, in it. Like at the end of the day, nostalgia is a real thing. Nostalgia is a real thing.
That's a fair point. Okay, yeah,
cool. We'll go with France 5th. Cool. Now it's going to be interesting. Who we got 4th then? I'm
good having Italy.
It's going to be Germany or Italy.
Yeah, it's going to be Germany or Italy.
Italy was my 4th. We're not putting Germany 3rd. I'm not having that.
No, because I had Italy at 2, but I'm good. You know, hearing the arguments and doing a little bit of research as we were going. I'm good having Germany above Italy.
Okay, Italy 4th is fine by me. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'll put the 4th as well, actually.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, this Italy team, one of the best defensive teams we've ever seen. And that's 100%. why I said, are you the best at what you do? And this team is that. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why I had them so high. But, you know, Germany, well-oiled machine on both sides of the ball. Do you know what I'm saying?
And you have to give them so much credit. Look, Fabio Cannavaro is still the only defender to have a Ballon d'Or.
Win a Ballon d'Or, facts.
And that's based off of the World Cup that he won.
2 goals conceded in the whole tournament is ridiculous, bro. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And he was a big boy defender. Like, for a little guy, he was a serious defender.
And we can't forget Buffon as well, by the way. We didn't mention Buffon as well.
Do you know what? I should make a very interesting point. You've been going on a lot about Italy conceding 2 goals. Spain conceded 2 goals as well. One against Switzerland, one against Chile. That's it.
Yeah, I was even going to say, Spain conceded 2 goals as well.
If they played each other, nil, guarantee you.
The only thing is, with the Spain one though, on the other side of things in the attack, it was a lot of 1-0s, 2-1s, 1-0s.
In the knockout stages, it was all 1-0s for Spain.
Yeah. So it's fine margins, man. Fine margins. So who's going 3rd then? Spain, Brazil, Germany.
I think it's got to be Germany.
I think Brazil has to be top 2. I'm happy with Germany. Spain and Germany.
But do you know what the problem is? Because I was happy with Spain at first, but you put them at 5th. So like this completely messes up the order.
I'll put in isolation, but I didn't want to put the other 2 tournaments in there because if I did, it's done. It's game over.
Alright, cool. No. Do you know what? We're gonna do that then. In terms of, okay, we're not gonna do level of dominance, but if we're agreeing that Germany are 3rd, in terms of these 2 teams now, Spain and Brazil, we just did a combined 11 and whatnot. If these 2 were to face each other, this is the team you have to go with. So who would be top for you? Who would win that game? A best of 3, actually. Let's say a best of 3. They have to play each other 3 times. They're allowed to make tactical changes after maybe 1 defeat. Obviously, it's first to win 2 games. Who comes out on top? Who wins twice? You
know what's actually funny about this, Daniel? It's a debate that we've had actually continuously in terms of ball retention versus chance creation. The Spanish team, I love it.
Yeah,
they'll keep the ball. You know, they'll keep clean sheets as we've seen in the tournament. You know, they'll look good on the eye. But that Brazilian team, give them 1 whiff, and we're not only talking about one guy. Multiple guys, 1 whiff. Even guys coming off the bench, you give them 1 whiff, and listen, it's a wrap. They will put you to bed. Do you know what I'm saying? This Brazilian team, and I think like we did do the combined 11, which was interesting, but I gotta go with Brazil, man. Just the high level talent, I'd have that over the style of play that Spain provides.
Do you think though? And obviously, I'm going to leave Nishal to lead on with this point though. To Nishal's point, the fact that Spain have the like more of a team aspect to it could mean they would win twice.
I think they could. Sorry, Nishal, win. I think they could win, but I'd still take the Brazil team.
Fair enough, Nishal. What are you thinking? What's your thinking in terms of a best of 3 series?
When you said best of 3, it changed in my mind a bit because I was trying to think who would change it the most, and I still say Spain, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because when Spain lost 1-0 to us, to Switzerland, they were shook. They were completely stunned. No one expected that. Not even we expected that. And they had to bounce back. They had to win both of their last games to even stand a chance of going through. And despite losing their very first game, they still won the tournament. Because I think Del Bosque made 1 or 2 changes. I think, if I'm right, it was something like Pedro for Torres or something along those lines. Yeah. But it was such a small tactical change because it was faith in the system and faith in the team. And he didn't need to change all 11. And the fact that they came back from a defeat in our opening game to win 6 on the bounce and win the tournament, I think that's why I'd put Spain above. So even if Brazil won the first game, like you're saying, I think Spain would come back. And that's why Spain are above there for me in my rankings and the overall rankings. Because when you put them together, when you look at them as an overall team, they have better players than Brazil. Yes, Brazil had more than a combined 11, but that's because of their attacking prowess compared to Spain. But when you look at it man by man and like collectively, Spain are more dominant and stronger for me. So it's got to be Spain.
I don't know.
But we can't forget how they did at the tournament. Do you get what I'm saying? I think Brazil was more dominant in terms of how they actually fared at the tournament compared to Spain. But I think you made some great points because the Spanish team is probably the best team, but I think Brazil will just have so many explosive
Do you know what it is? For people who like basketball, it's a bit like what we see with the Nets now with Harden.
No, you know what it is? It's the Spurs, old school Spurs, like when they were beating LeBron. That's Spain, and then the Miami Heat is Brazil. That's what it is.
LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. Yeah. No, but the firepower on that Brazil team is crazy.
And it was 1-1. Do you know what I mean? The Heat won first, then the Spurs. But if you're saying who's the better team, you can go either way. But I can't lie, I'd say the Heat.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Can I say one last point?
No, go on. No, of course.
Yeah. But the Brazilian team also, the thing is, because obviously they do Copa America. They dominated this 99, 2002, 2005 Confederations Cup. They even went to go and collect as well.
I remember that cup. You know, that's the only Confederations Cup I've actually watched. Like the whole thing.
Because obviously over here we watch more Euros and like obviously time difference. So you don't time to watch Copa as much as you want to, but that team was just as dominant, and they also got to a final when France beat them in '98. That was the final, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know? Yeah. Can I say one point about? Because I was going to say on that, we spoke about Spain. Sorry to interrupt you, but we spoke about Spain got Euro 2008, World Cup 2010, World Cup Euro 2012. Brazil reached 3 consecutive World Cup finals. Over 12 years. Do you know how insane that is?
What was it? 98.
98, 94, 98, 02.
2002, yeah.
Crazy.
That's mad. And that's crazy.
And you know the reason why I believe? Because when you have the elite level talent, you can always rise to the occasion. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes style ain't going to be enough. Sometimes you just need a guy that can just take over a game. And this team has those guys in abundance. And that's why I'd put them above Spain.
Well, who do you think... In terms of level of downsizing, so in terms of how they've like kind of capitulated as teams, because I wouldn't say Spain and Brazil in recent times anyway have been at the forefront of international football. Who do you think downsized the most?
Spain,
because that can also help you.
It might be Spain.
I'd say Spain.
Have a look at their performances at the next World Cup. Brazil got to the quarterfinals. They still did well, but they got knocked out by France, who eventually got to the final. Spain, group stage. They were dreadful.
Yeah, got knocked
They
out
were
in the group
dreadful,
stage. It's
yeah.
true.
That was shocking. That was scary.
And then how did Spain do at the most recent World Cup?
Round of 16 against Russia.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they've not been at the heights.
Russia. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. Who got to them after it?
Nah. I remember it was that guy who had a great World Cup. Nah, not even Zherkov.
Oh.
Shershev.
Shershev, that's it. Yeah.
He was hard.
And Russia, I actually remember that game. You know, Russia defended, for like the whole game. Like it was literally that defense v attack for the whole game, but Spain couldn't get the job done. But no, that's a fair point. So do you think then that the fact that Spain came from a greater height and downsized the most kind of maybe affects your thinking,
I
Darren and Kojo?
was thinking about.
I don't think so.
I'm thinking about legacies. Now, Spain's legacy is incredible, and obviously a lot of them were Barca based as well. So, all Madrid based. So the things that Real Madrid and Barcelona did in the next couple of years kind of helps them in club wise. Whereas Brazilians, but then with Brazilians,
got 3 Ballon d'Or winners there.
you got 3 Ballon d'Or winners. R9 is known as the forward ever. Ronaldinho is known as one of the greatest forwards ever. Cafu's known as the best right back ever. Roberto Carlos is known as one of the best left backs ever. Marcos is dangerously underrated.
Rivaldo, one of the most underrated.
I haven't even said Rivaldo's name yet.
Kaká, you ain't mentioned.
It was a young Kaká though. He wasn't hitting the heights he was at AC Milan. Young Kaká. Gilberto Silva did that and then did that and then went unbeaten in the league season. Brother, hey, it's stressing me, man. It's stressing me. I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to this question.
What are you? If I can
Brazil
go
first, I'm putting Brazil first.
Actually, you didn't even answer my question. In terms of the best of 3 series, you think Brazil will win? Yeah.
Yeah, 2-1.
And you're a coach. Why?
I feel like Brazil had the dangers they had going forward would be a lot more difficult for Spain to deal with. I think Spain's obviously ethic, which was phenomenal. Obviously, it's normal. Is I have the ball, you can't score. But Brazil had that tenacity and also that kind of patience to run the game in different ways, and they're also tactically flexible.
If I throw one more thing at the
back,
if I throw one more thing at you, this was like the tiki taka in full effect, yeah. So this is when tiki taka was implemented, yeah. The other team didn't get a sniff, as in, you know, when you say these days now when teams play possession based football, the other team sets up in a way where you can counter attack in it, and then you can say, do you know what I'm saying? Let's just assume, obviously, we take. It's a lot of hypotheticals, of course. It's mad tough, but let's just try all the same. You take 2010 Spain; they weren't giving up chances. That's one of the big things about them. They kept the ball so much, that it's the point of tiki-taka is to suffocate the opponent with the ball. Eventually you'll get tired and eventually you'll give us space.
But you know what the issue is, what you're saying? You're not suffocating Ronaldinho. Big Ronaldo. You're not suffocating them, man. Them man need one chance, half a chance, and they'll punish you. Even if it's a quarter of a chance, running through 2-3 guys, they've got multiple guys that capable of doing that.
This is where I'm coming from as well. I think that Brazil team, not the quality and abundance, the talent, the way they played was beautiful to watch, the skills and everything. But there was a discipline about them. They had the right assertive players with the kind of leadership. Your Edmilson, your Lucio, your Gilberto Silva, and even though the front three, we love them for their Joga Bonito and the beautiful football they were playing, the tricks, the flicks. Ronaldinho loving certain goalkeepers on his line. That's why I mentioned that again. But they were also disciplined players. I think against Spain, you had to have a level of discipline to beat them. I feel like, my guy down here, his Swiss people, they had that discipline in that game to win that game 1-0 and run away with it. And they can live in history saying, that team dominated competitions, but they didn't dominate us. You know what I'm saying? On a level. I thought that Brazil team, even the fact that they won every game, and every game felt like, even when they went 1-0 behind against England, you knew the goals were coming. You knew it was only a matter of time. Like, sometimes it's a team that just can't be stopped. Like Barcelona, if Barcelona went 1-0 behind, you knew they were coming for your neck, no matter what. And at some point, they'll come to get you. That's the kind of feel that I had with that Brazil team. So I'm gonna put them up there
Well, obviously, since Darren and Kojo put Brazil over Spain, they're gonna go first. But Nishal, you get to respond. What do you think about the points that they've made?
I completely agree with your points, and I think you both made really, really good points to put Brazil above. But I've made my arguments for Spain. I'm still adamant they would win, and I think the longevity in the fall is a really interesting point. Brazil 3 World Cup finals in a row, Spain 3 trophies in a row. Both of them did it at those heights. But something we have to think about is, and this is kind of my final point when I'm saying I still believe Spain is the top, but I will happily let you guys put Brazil top of our overall list. If we look at the next World Cup, Spain had their players and all of their squad at the absolute peak, and it all fell into place perfectly. By the time 2014 came around, they were all declining. David Villa was past his best. Xavi was past his best. Iniesta was coming past his best. Casillas had lost his place in the Real Madrid squad. He was at past his best. Whereas for Brazil, if we look at Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, they were still doing it in 2006.
That's a very, very good point.
2010. So if we're looking at longevity, Brazil, after they won in 2002, it was quarterfinal, semi-final. For Spain, it's been group stage, round of 16. In that point, I can't argue anything. And I completely agree. And I completely get you there.
Do you know what?
I need to see the squad.
The reason why I agree with that as well, the reason why the Brazil squad 2006 was great. It had Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Adriano, Robinho. They had big time players. Kaká. They had big time players. And the reason why I even hear that as well is that the argument you made about the golden generation thing, I think that's big, because again, obviously this is more of a longevity debate, but like the Brazil team, a lot of people say that Brazil team, that golden generation, so the second maybe golden generation of Brazil, they underachieved, a bit like the way Belgium's golden generation is underachieved, in that they only managed to get 1 World Cup out of that. Like they could only squeeze 1 World Cup out of that squad, because I definitely think they should have won more. I do think they should have won 1 more World Cup.
3 finals in a row, though. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough to say they won 1 more when they win.
Pardon?
I can't remember. Did they win 94? I can't remember how they won 94.
No, they didn't win 94.
Yeah.
Who, Brazil?
Yeah.
They did. They beat Italy on penalties. Baggio missed.
Yeah.
No, they did. They did. But more so,
that's 2 out of 3.
No, but more so, I'm talking about the Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, that era of talent, Kaká. Yeah, so the let's say 2000 to 2008, that kind of period, because that's when those guys were in their kind of like the peak of their careers and whatnot. But nah, all the same, man, this is still a great list, man, and I can't lie, it's tough. As long as we're all in agreement that France are last. France were last if I was to do my list as well. But that's besides the point. So France obviously 5th. There's nothing to say though. France can't become a better. Like, we don't know what's in store for Mbappe's career. All the youngsters they've gotten. Go on.
So I would say, I think France is the harshest for any of us to judge, because Brazil have stood the test of time almost 20 years now. Germany, Italy, they've all stood the test of time. France has been 3 years, and we've not even seen a major tournament since then. If we did this list after Euro 2020, and they won Euro 2020, that would completely change it. They got out on the group stage. That changes it as well.
If France win Euro 2020 and then win Qatar 2022, where would you put them in this list?
If they win World Cup, Euros World Cup,
you
better sit them next to Spain, mate.
Absolutely.
You're gonna have to, because that's ridiculous. Have you heard of that before? World Cup, Euros World Cup. I don't think anyone's done that before in history.
Oh yeah, Spain did World Cup.
Spain did Euros.
World Cup. Euros. Yeah,
could have been the last team to ever win back-to-back World Cups. Brazil, 1962. 60 years since the teams retaining the World Cup. If they do that, not just doing that in the modern era, if they do that, they are up there, no doubt about it.
And that has to be in that corner, because in let's even talk about Premier League football. Everyone's struggling to do back-to-back. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's probably one of the hardest things to do.
That's it. Nishan, who do you support?
Chelsea, man. Chelsea fan.
Oh, so everyone can put their hand up and say, we've retained.
Gee. But only certain man can say that they did.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
But no, but it's a valid point. And on top of that, just to wrap it up, like doing it twice, back to back, like Anthony Joshua said, it was what was he? What's even the famous quote? It's so good. I had to do it twice.
It was so not.
It was so nice. I had to do it twice.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Doing it twice is the hardest thing in any sport. Repeating it, and that's obviously tenacity, and not more so the World Cup where there's a 4-year gap between the last one that you did. So you gotta wait for France, man. We gotta see what France are made of, especially when Mbappe is already saying he wants to take the mantle in club football. So boy, big things to come. But you, man, I appreciate you lot for coming on. That's another episode of Viewpoint wrapped up and done. World Cup edition. There's going to be a lot more episodes to come. Before we head off, Nishal, plug yourself. Where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me back on. It's been a while, but great to see Eyes on the Ball TV doing great stuff. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe to them. Doing brilliant stuff, doing proper bits. If you enjoyed what you heard from me, you can check out all of my work on nishalsblog.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at Nishal_SP.
Yeah, you, man, Nishal, Chelsea fans, doing great work within the Chelsea community. Obviously,
thank you. Started
going to the stadiums now, doing more journalist work, and I mean, you're talking face to face with Thomas Tuchel. So, boy, you're living the dream, man, living the dream. Kojo, where can they find you, bro?
Shout out to Nishal for that one as well. You're gonna go on to do much greater things as well. This is only the beginning, bro. Shout out to the ball as well. The greatest intro of all time. Just saying it right now. You can find me on Free Midfield Podcast, which is here. How do I do this on my pod? Free Midfield Podcast on YouTube, Free Midfield on Twitter, SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Spotify.
100%, man. And obviously, second half of Free Midfield, we need to get Cahill on, because Cahill's one of the funniest guys ever, man. I like Cahill's insight, but Free Midfield definitely doing great stuff as well, having very, very good conversations, outside the box conversations as well. So really appreciate what you guys are doing as well for the scene. And obviously, Darren, big boy Darren, Dazzy EOTB, my co-host, co-founder. Big man, where can they find you?
You know what time it is. Just subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button, all that good stuff. And yeah, man, that's it. The Twitter is there, Daz_EOTB. Same old. But yeah, man, it's been a good episode. Enjoyed having you guys on, and the insight was delicious. I enjoyed it, man.
100%, man. Till another week of Viewpoint. It's been Eyes on the Ball, and we out.
Deuces.